It tells me we're recording there now, so the standard, don't put your finger up your nose and don't swear. Hey, Woody,
I
how are you doing?
promise.
How are you this fine and sunny evening?
Yeah, absolutely fine, Bob. Just got home from work and yeah, it had a good day. And it's a lovely day today. Actually, I don't know what it's like up your end, but
Lovely
it's
blue
been
skies and
beautiful.
sunshine. Bit cold, but it's all right. Spring has sprung, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yesterday morning we had snow. Can you
I
believe
know
that?
that's
You
crazy,
know,
isn't it? Crazy. First morning back to work for a lot, and also a lot of them didn't get to work because of the snow, which is
I
unfortunate.
know.
It'll just
It
save
must.
the excitement for later in the week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
thanks for agreeing to do this. The
That's okay.
You've been on my radar for a while to get a hold of because I know your story is quite an interesting one. The as I've heard it before when we've been full of beer.
Yeah, yeah. You're probably not so interested now.
Yeah, no, the beer's missing. Hang on, wait there. I'll go and get a beer. But I mean, for anybody who doesn't know you, Woody, give us a sort of who you are and what you're about, what you're up to, and then we'll backtrack and fill in the detail of the journey if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
So for anybody
So
who
my
doesn't
name's
know who you are,
So I'm Woody, Keith Woodward, but most people know me as Woody. I only get called Keith if I'm in trouble, really. That's usually the mum or my wife.
yeah.
And what I do for a living now is I'm still an ADI, but I teach emergency response for the ambulance, so for private and NHS drivers. So that's what my full-time role is.
Excellent. So there's the sort of the journey that leads you to that role starts with the ADI, but if I can take you back a little bit further than that, what did you do before you were an ADI?
Well, I've got quite an interesting background because I've been abroad for roughly about 15, 16 years. And if I sort of start off with just the basic stuff, because I can't go through everything, but I was a bum for quite a while. So I was bumming around the Greek islands and bumming around the Mediterranean. Doesn't sound right at all, does it?
Just to qualify, you mean dossing around?
Yes. Yeah. 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 I've got to be careful what I say. So I was dossing around the Med and working in bars and restaurants and I did a bit of kibbutzing in Israel and Camp America and all that stuff. And then I become a holiday rep. So I worked for a holiday company for 10 years, summers in the Med and winter in the Alps.
So bumming around and getting paid for it.
Yeah, so bumming around but getting paid for it and enjoying it even more. Most of it was free this time. Absolutely. Free bumming.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what brought an end to that then? Why did you suddenly become sensible?
I became sensible because I got ill. And I basically had to return. I was working in Italy at the time. I've had a history of lung problems and basically ended up in Naples hospital for about 6 weeks. Had an operation, and basically then that was the end of my repping career, really. So, due to insurances and things like that, they sent me home, and then I sort of looked in the newspaper and thought, what can I do?
And like a lot of us saw the advert and thought, driving instructor, I can do that.
Yeah. And it said, I think I remember it. It was only in a little block, and it was earn £30,000 a year, work your own hours, and become a driving instructor. And I thought, yeah, that sounds good. I thought, what else can I do?
Well, hard can it be?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I went down that path.
What year was that then, Woody?
That was in 2000, and so I came back on 2004. So it would have started, the path would have been in 2004. Right. So as a PDI.
Yeah. Training license?
Yeah. 2 training license.
Excellent.
I needed them.
It was easier to get a second one back then. So tell us about your training journey then. How was it for you?
I don't think it was the best time of my life.
Okay.
Because I put a lot in. I put a lot of, bought a car, did all the, invested a lot in it, paid the money up front, and then, it was difficult. I found it difficult, and I can relate to anyone who's a PDI who finds it difficult. and a lot of lack of self-belief in it as well. And never really expected to actually make it.
Right.
You know, just had that doubt in my mind all the time about it.
Sure. It is interesting when you think. I mean, I know the entire story, but you know, as we go through this, people will see how you've ended up doing a lot of the things you've done because of the background. You know, the illness and the stuff, and then feeling anxious about the exams and stuff. But you got there in the end.
Yeah,
that's the main thing. So, was your training journey enjoyable, or was it just the stress of having the commitment of having to find all this money each week?
I think it was. I didn't get it. That's my problem. I just didn't really get what I was doing.
Yeah.
Whether I was a bit too dumb to understand it, or whether it was put across the right way. I think a bit of both, really. But I just didn't understand what the purpose of what the especially the part 3. I struggled on all levels of it. I got through part 1 first go. Part 2, it took me 3 attempts. A lot of that was just lack of self-belief.
It's amazing to me to look at that one, because I've seen you drive and I know you're really good. And I've seen you work as an ADI and I know you're really, really good at that. So isn't it interesting to find that somebody that does possess that talent struggled either through the training not resonating properly, or the anxiety coming into it and not being tackled, I suppose, not being dealt with. You know, this is an issue. Let's put a plan together for this. It's a story I hear, and I know you hear over and over from PDIs that are just struggling because they can't make sense of it. Nobody's made sense of it for them, and they're wandering around throwing money at it with extra training and not really getting anywhere until that little light bulb goes away. Go, that's what they're after.
Yeah,
I can do that.
It probably took me a year after I passed it to suddenly understand what I was doing in a way. Yeah, once I'd been teaching for a while and had my green badge. It took me quite a while to sort of even think, this is the way we do it. It was always trying to do everything the way I was told to do it, which I never got. And that is purely because it just didn't resonate with my learning style, I think, and my grasp of things was I was quite slow to understand it, to be honest. And I think when you're anxious as well, when you put a lot of money up front, you're anxious and you know that you've only got one more chance left at it and then another wait, that becomes even more pronounced. So I sympathise with anyone that currently is going through that, but I understand it. But I know that everyone can do it if they got the right mindset. It's the mindset which really changed everything, really.
Yeah. Well, that's a feature throughout everything you do, really, isn't it? The dealing with the mindset and changing mindset and stuff. So became ADI. Now, I know you were training for the Energy Savings Trust, delivering Train the Trainer stuff, because that's when we first met. And I know you were developing the conquering anxiety and stress workshops at that point. They were sort of in their early stages. So what brought you to that then, the conquering anxiety and stress? Was it your journey through that inspired you to do it?
It was starting to get heavily involved in coaching, started it. So I done the Tri Coaching Qualification Level 4, which was fantastic. But that opened up my eyes to the fact that we are, I always thought it was just me that was the problem, was having a problem. I was the one that was struggling. And it opened up my eyes to the fact that we're all different and that we're not all clones. And I started to realise that there was more than one way to do this. And through teaching my learners, I started to recognise their anxiety and gradually started to almost walk in their shoes and get the way they feel about their training in order to help them. I found that the best thing to do was to learn what the learner needs, learn them, to find out, how to help them, because that's what I needed probably.
That's once you start, I mean, we've talked about this till 7 o'clock in the morning, but once you start scratching the surface of it, you start discovering all this other stuff, don't you? You think, yes, that's interesting. Oh, and the YouTube wormhole, you watch one video and you keep watching them, and eventually you fall asleep. When you wake up, there's something that's sort of related but really interesting, so you follow that little wormhole, and then end up discovering all sorts of stuff. And and I think also through conversations with other people, I mean, I've learned a great deal from you in the the late night bars that we've sat in drinking beer and just discussing coaching in general. And I think we pick stuff up off each other, and it's the Try Coaching people have done a grand job of introducing a lot of people to it and opening their eyes to there being a different way. That it doesn't have to be all of it. And of course, the changes to the Part 3 exam have really helped in this regard, haven't they? Because people have been forced to learn a bit more about it. So tell us a story about the anxiety and stress. But for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, obviously you run workshops to help people, very successful workshops, I may add, to help people deal with these things. So what's the background to that then?
It goes back about 6 years ago, and I applied to become an ambulance instructor. So I passed the qualification to drive ambulances, and I just got involved with delivering qualifications to ambulance driving instructors, and then I got invited to join them and do the qualification. Mm-hmm. And I failed at the first attempt quite miserably.
Qualification as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. At the time, I think I had a £10,000 bank loan out on a course that was pass or fail, and I failed on the third week of the course. And I mean, what was fantastic about the whole experience was I never actually paid. I was told not to pay, I didn't have to pay, and I'd be invited back in the future to have another go, but I weren't ready. And I think what failed me personally was my mindset. I went in there believing, like, after the second day of being there, that I can't do this, and that just puts barriers up. And I found out so much about myself after that. After failing, I just vowed that I'd never get in that stage again, that I'd never let myself get that way again, because I was in a bad way after that, and it took me quite a bit of time to get over it. And so I started learning about the mind, and I've probably spent, even up to now, I'm still learning new things, and I just learned everything about the mind and about people, to discover what they are. And I found out so much stuff about how we work as a person that enabled me to go back and do it again and be successful, because I went in there as a different person, went there as a different mindset, and using all the kind of stuff I've learned, that helped me without a doubt.
I mean, you're right, as the mindset creates a level of self-efficacy. And if you go in with a negative mindset, you just convince yourself you can't do it. But if, it's something I'm doing a lot of work on, this idea of self-efficacy and how instruction can shred it, and coaching always builds it. So it's once you start learning these things, you start applying it, kind of physician heal thyself kind of thing. I remember discussing with you when you were saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it again." I was like, "Ooh,
yeah,
ooh, that's a dark memory hanging over the last time you did it."
Yeah, I mean, it was my boss now that persuaded me to do it, and he asked me. He said he asked me about 5 times before I agreed, under different terms. But I went there as I definitely went there as a different person. So it was the same shell, but the inside was different. And I went there with an attitude of, I'm going to be as kind as I can. I'm grateful of the opportunity to do it, and in a way that you're almost bulletproof. That what's the worst can happen? You can fail it, and that's the worst thing that can happen, but it's not the end of the world, sort of thing.
So I mean, it's a fascinating little story. So what created the different mindset between that first time and the second time?
I think it was just the years of study and courses I've been on that taught me about. I mean, I know enough about the brain now to understand that even just one thought changes the whole chemistry of your body. Which means that there's a great saying by a guy called Henry Ford, who obviously from the Ford motor industry years ago said, whether you can or whether you can't, you're right. And that just sums it up. You know, whatever you tell yourself, you're right. If you say you can't do it, you can't do it. If you say you can, you can.
It's the Shakespeare thing of the quote as well, isn't it? There's nothing either good or bad until you think it is.
Yeah, and I'm sure Einstein's got one somewhere. You know, he likes a little quote, doesn't he?
But he does. He's fond of a quote. If he was around today, he'd be memeing all over the place.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah, definitely. But I found out things that I couldn't believe were possible. That's really what got me into it. How the chemistry of your body changes just by the way you think, and that is outstanding. You know, that's amazing.
I think it's true as well. Once you realise that your thought process releases chemicals, thinking positive or negative releases different chemicals.
Yeah.
So if you're releasing different chemicals, it's going to mix together differently, and create not just a mindset, but it's a physical thing as well, isn't it? Well, of course, all of that study then led you to develop the conquering anxiety and stress workshops, and I know you've had a lot of people through them now.
Yeah, I think I've done over the last 3 years now. I think I've done something like 20.
Right.
I think we did 5 for you, didn't we? For LDC.
Yeah.
So I think it's been about 20, and I've done 2 online ones as well on Zoom. And I'm really looking forward to the future, to going back out and doing it on the road again, because I think it works better when it's on the road, but it just depends really.
The thing, I mean, well, you were kind enough to let me sit in on the workshop because I wanted to see the people. I wanted to watch what was going on. And it was very interesting to look at the people who you could see on their faces they were thinking, no, not really. And by the end of the day, they were all converts. Of course, we go through a lot of exercises to show the impact that it's having, which is fascinating. Yeah. So that leads you through to the job that you're doing now. Sorry, but just before I move on with that, if you're going to go back out on the road and do these things, where can people find out about it?
What if they want to do the workshop?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't got one organised at the moment, but I usually put them up on Facebook, or they can follow me on Facebook, Keith Woodward, and the next time I organise one, I'll put them up there. In ADI events, anything like that, it will be on there. And I'll just share it around, really. And a lot of people do share it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think once they've been to the workshop, they become converts. They become almost disciples. Yeah. So if anybody's thinking about it and you think, nah, it's not for me, ask somebody who's been. I've witnessed a lot of LDCs and stuff who went, well, like, really? Nah, I don't know. No, I'm not sure. But they come away from it, they go, that was bloody brilliant, man. It's changed the way that I think about stuff. So
I've had some lovely feedback from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about it.
No, I've not heard them yet, but if I find them, I'll sort them out.
So you're now doing the job that caused you all the anxiety in the first place. How's that?
Well, I'm doing a job that I love now, and I think you realise once you overcome any self-doubt, you can do anything you want. I really do believe that now, and I feel I do a good job. I know I do a good job. Not self-bragging, but I know my pupils tell me, and everyone tells me so. But the main reason is because I help them overcome their fears, and I think that's the biggest thing. You get quite a lot of the students coming through on the NHS now are in their teens that are going into a blue light response course,
right.
Which is incredible. 18, 19, 20. That's common.
They're meant to be the people causing the accidents.
Yeah, I mean, you know what these youngsters are going through is just absolutely incredible, and we spend 4 weeks with them on the driving side, and I think also because they're quite new drivers, they're very easy to mould into response drivers because they've got no habits.
Well,
not years of habits anyway.
Yeah. So not too many.
They've not got too many. They've got a few, obviously, but what they do carry with them is a lot of self-doubt, and you can see that in a lot of the courses where the students are almost, oh, when do we do the test and when do we do this, and they're already putting those barriers up, because they do a number of different assessments, and they are not just practical but also theory. And one of the ones is they have to memorize 120 road signs and then pick them out, 60 of them out in an exam. So they put a lot of effort into it. But once they start telling themselves they can't do it, those kind of exams become more and more difficult.
I think we tend more towards the negative mindset than positive human beings, or we fall into that easier, don't we? I don't know why, but we do. But your Facebook group, All Things Client Centered and Coaching, that's still active? I know you're not as active on there as you were, but
no,
there's lots of stuff on there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it going again now, because everyone's gone back to work or going back this week. So I'm hoping to revive it a little bit and get some interest going there. But that's mostly just, it's about people that are coming into the industry and want to learn more about coaching, and they can go on there in a safe environment as well. There's never, there's very rarely any trouble. Yeah,
I do like the group because it is quite a positive environment.
Yeah,
and supportive in reality, which is, well, it kind of, it's your mindset that's created it, so it's good. So what's in the future for Woody then?
Well, at the moment, I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing with the ambulance service, and I'll do that as long as I can. It's almost such a pleasure to do it. Yeah. But as long as my boss is not looking right now, I'd probably do it for free. But because it's an honor to do it. It really is. And I know what the guys, I've learned over the last couple of years just what they experience. They share a lot of stories. COVID has been the biggest thing lately, and these boys and girls are going out there and putting their lives on the line to help people. So it's a bit of an honor to do it. Really, I've got so much respect for them, and there's some of them are just not much older than my daughter, and I'm thinking they're out there and they're dealing with fatalities and the stuff that we wouldn't want to see, and they get on with it. So it is a pleasure to get them through one stage of it.
I think everybody in the country loves and respects the NHS, except obviously the people who are deciding on the pay rises, but we'll not get into that.
Yeah. No, I think they are loved.
Well, the envy of the world. Our NHS is the envy of the world. It absolutely is. You look at the miraculous things that they're doing with the vaccination program. We're miles ahead of anybody else. Miles.
Yeah. And they jump in where people wouldn't. They are youngsters, a lot of them, and they will go into stuff that you think you wouldn't want your daughter to see, or your son to see, and they go in there and they deal with it. And it's tough for them, but they've just got this mindset as well. They've got very strong mindsets. It's just they don't believe in themselves sometimes. That's the main thing with the driving side.
Funny how the two things can run side by side like that, and you think, well, one should cancel the other one.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you look at we've only just scratched the surface of the life that you've lived. And maybe we'll come back and do it again at another time for a bit more of the detail. But it's clearly a life well lived, and certainly an interesting one. And I'm delighted that you agreed to come on and share it with us.
It was my pleasure.
And I wish you luck in everything that you do, Woody. That I admire the workshops that you create and the way you do. And we came together to the Energy Savings Trust stuff. It's always nice to mix with high level trainers, because we all learn from each other all the time. It's really nice.
Yeah, you learn everyone learns something from someone else. No one's born with any knowledge. They all find it from another trainer, another teacher. Yeah. And now I'm still learning. I'm learning from everyone still learning the response craft is different. But I'm learning and taking in advice from people and learning from mistakes as well. We all make mistakes, and absolutely. It's one thing I've always put with my students at the moment is, don't be frightened to make a mistake, because that holds back.
Learn from it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you make a mistake, so what? learn from it, don't do it again. You've learned from it.
It's one of the fundamentals, isn't it? The sort of coaching things that we do with our learners. If something doesn't go the way we want it to, we'll just have a discussion about what we can learn from it. Never at any point will it be about who's to blame.
Yeah,
that serves no purpose other than negate everybody's responsibility apart from the person who was to blame. Well, if we sit and analyze the thing properly, everybody learns from it.
Yeah, I think they do. If you can take a mistake, which is obviously a negative, and turn that into a positive, absolutely, then it's win-win for everyone, And sometimes, and sometimes you have to make mistakes to realise a way of doing something. Yeah. And that's quite interesting. I watch my students; they make the same mistakes any other driver does, and you watch the reaction to it. It's the same as a learner driver. The same, I shouldn't do this, and and eventually if you don't sort of allow that to happen, it becomes a mistake that they're too scared to make, and therefore becomes worse.
More likely to make it. But I mean, if anybody wants evidence of the mindset thing and how that can have the impact, what's the name of the doctor again? It slipped my mind. That had
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Dispenza, Dispenza.
Yeah.
Google it. The story is unbelievable. If it wasn't true, if you didn't know it was true, you'd be like, no, that's impossible. But it isn't. And that's one of the things that led you along the path as well, isn't it? Reading that story and thinking, is that really possible? Wow. And then I know that you've got lots of other examples that you use in your workshops about people doing incredible things.
The life now, you can almost create your own illness if you just think about it enough. But if you can create it by thought, you can also get rid of it by thought. And one example is we have a jug at home, and it's got a label on it saying love, gratitude, and peace, and all that on there. And I say to the children, take a little glass of that every day. Say thank you. And it is almost touch wood that they've not been sick for about 3 years since we've been doing that. Even my wife is starting to convert. She calls me kumbaya at times, and it's all voodoo and stuff like that. But there's so much power in the mind now that I'm convinced that placebos are real. I'm convinced that we make our own placebos as well in our head, and everything you do is based on your mind. And I could go a lot deeper than that. I've also something I have introduced into the course, which you didn't see, was I got some software where I could literally get a couple of attendees and put a brain scan on them, and see it come up on a screen, and it would show their brainwaves, and then I'd get them to think about something that made them anxious, and you see this massive influx of we call it an alpha brainwave, which is when you're actually starting to get really stressed. Right. And even just if they close their eyes and think about a situation, they might have had a crash or something, some kind of something that's a bit traumatic, you see the brainwave just change instantly. And that brainwave is now sending a shockwave through your body to your heart, to your cells, and the whole body has changed structure in that microsecond. And then if you get them to think about something calm and peaceful, the brainwave changes again. So it is such a powerful connection. But when you see it live on the screen,
we're only just learning about the brain and how it works.
We're touching it now. They really are learning a lot more about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So all of our learners come with us with programs downloaded through years of things that have happened to them.
Absolutely.
That they bring in the car.
Yeah.
And how many students like stalling a car? It's the worst thing in the world, isn't it? Because they've got that fear of stalling is the worst thing you can do.
That's right.
And the more they try not to stall,
yeah,
we all do it. Don't I mean?
Of course we do.
We've all done it. I don't suppose there's any ADI that's never stalled a vehicle before.
Well, I think it's also true that you never stall when there's nobody watching.
No, that's yeah. But yeah, it's powerful. It's really powerful. And one thought can change everything. you know. And one of my favorite sort of sayings really is, you're one thought away from happiness and you're one thought away from sadness, you know. And it's very true. It's a different philosophy that we're going through now.
Well, you know, when I first watched the workshop, I thought, all right then, let me try some of these things and see what it does. And I just tried the being grateful every day, finding something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Noticing the change it makes in you. It is actually tangible and it's quite powerful.
Yeah.
It has an impact way outside of your immediate surroundings. It carries with you through the day. So I would urge you all, if you've not been, go. You know, certainly look it up, and certainly, you know, become a member of All Things Coaching and Client-Centered. Have you changed that? All Things Coaching and Client-Centered Learning in Driver Training. Have you added the driver training at the end? Was that there before?
No, that was on there.
Was it?
I think it was on there. Yeah, it was on there.
I'm just getting old, buddy. That's memories failing.
And anyone can ask questions on there as well if they come on as an ADI, a PDI.
Yeah, it's a very positive experience visiting the place.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good trainers on there that are really supportive. You know, that will, you know, like Fiona and you know, that I can't think off heart, but a lot of the guys from Try Coaching are on there.
Nikki's quite active on there, isn't she?
Nikki's fantastic. She's one of the most positive people that you'll ever meet, despite what she goes through. But she's an inspiration as well. That how someone can you know, really struggle with life and suffer and yet be so positive. You know, there's plenty of people like that out there.
Well, there's lots of people sharing their experiences of that and the changes they've made for them. So I think it's a fascinating place to look. Yeah, that's been fascinating. I mean, it's obviously, you know, I knew a lot of the detail anyway, but it's even to just go through it again. It's a nice reminder.
That's okay, Bob. I enjoyed it. It's nice.
Yeah, it's been fun to chat. We haven't sat and talked about coaching in a bar for ages, have we? But the bars are going to be open soon.
I think I mean, I used to enjoy those because they was just, you know, we wouldn't even have any agenda whatsoever. They were just suddenly, you know, it usually was around about the third pint, wouldn't it? We would all
yeah. What's your take on this?
yeah. Around about third pint.
Yeah, the rest of the gang would be like, right, if you two are going to start that again, we're off to bed.
Yeah. And it was
fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting what you come out with, isn't it? What you discover.
It's interesting how little you remember as well. We should have written a lot of it down, you know.
Yeah, should have written it down. Talking of writing it down, I've got I wonder if I can plug a couple of books that I've.
Of course you can.
They're not out yet, but they're coming out soon. One's about drivers for driving tests. So what it is a book all about how the mind plays a part of your driving test and what you can do. It's a bit of a condensed version of the Calming Your Anxious Mind course, but it's totally orientated to learner drivers on their test.
And where will people find it?
It will be on Amazon, so it'll be on a Kindle, and it's pretty much written. It's been looked at. So
if people search on Amazon for Keith Woodward or for Woody Woodward,
it will be under Keith Woodward.
Okay.
And I've written another one, which is 20 short stories of thought and how they change your life. So these are just generic stories about things that happen in your life and how your thoughts have influenced those things. So something I've just been doing in lockdown, really.
I look forward to reading those.
And there'll only be there'll only be about £3 on Amazon. They're only short books, but they're good little, you know, just something you can put on your phone and have a little read. And maybe something will resonate with people.
Well, it might be nice once they're done, maybe to get together again and do a proper plug.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come on here to do that, but I just
I know. But you know what? I always think if people are coming on to give up their time for free, then there's nothing wrong with a little bit of a shameless plug.
Yeah, and it'll give me a reason to publish them because I've written them quite a long time ago, and it's just then getting that extra hurdle where you just, you know, I've all got an account set up with Amazon, but it's just getting through their ways of putting it onto Kindle. and every time I start doing it, I'll get backtracked, and then there's another month gone, and so on. But yeah, I'm quite excited about them.
Oh, give us a shout. Give us a shout when they're done.
I'll let you know.
We'll come back together. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thanks ever so much for that, Woody. I shall bid you farewell, and I'll look forward to talking to you sometime soon. Thanks ever so much for sharing your journey and your thoughts.
No problem, Bob. You take care.
Absolute blast.
See you, mate.